Following the tragic death of Charlie Kirk several days ago, we now have Attorney General Pam Bondi saying that they will be going after people with hate speech. And again, the big question is, what is hate speech? Is it people that, laughed when he died? I mean, you could argue by all means that is disgusting. Absolutely, the way different people have reacted. But is that hate speech? Will people be getting arrested? Of course, there are lists being put out to get folks fired. And it really brings up the conversation of cancel culture and what does it mean to quote unquote cancel somebody for their opinions. Freedom of speech doesn't protect people from most of their jobs. But when does the pendulum swing too far? Here's what Attorney General Pam Bondi had to say.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
So hate speech is not protected under the First Amendment. The question is what most people are doing, is that considered hate speech? Hate speech is abusive or threatening speech, writing that expresses prejudice on the basis of ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or similar grounds. So it's a good question to ask because, I mean, imagine if you heard the news that Charlie Kirk passed and you decided to laugh or quote Charlie Kirk, or do something that I would consider to be deplorable. I would consider that deplorable to laugh or mock someone's death. But at the same time, I don't want to judge people for how they react because we all deal with death in these heavy situations in so many different ways. But would it be considered hate speech? So I actually asked ChatGPT, not that this is the law, but they do a pretty good job of citing their facts here. And they say that there is not really a protection, if there's a public figure like Charlie Kirk, it's, you can't just say people are committing hate speech if they disagree with his policies or say good riddance. You don't just get to, you can go after someone for their job and do the cancel culture thing where you contact their bosses. But the attorney general coming after somebody, now hate speech would be like if there was incitement or encouragement of violence or things like that. But someone just saying, I feel nothing over this, that's just a dangerous place to be. Here's what Nancy Mace had to say about those that did not respond in the sort of, way she would have had hoped.
Strongly. And I support everything Trump is saying and wanting to do. That's why I'm filing this censorship and this motion to strip Ilhan Omar of her committee assignments. That's why I'm working to root out the teachers and healthcare workers in South Carolina who celebrate murder. I don't want them around our kids. Hard pass.
I've never seen the.
So she says, I don't want them around our kids, healthcare employees, teachers. And they've gone so far as to say basically anyone who has some sort of license that can be taken away, can they go after them for what they've said on their own social medias? It's a real honest question about what is allowed, what rights people have to voice their opinions versus what some are calling not cancel culture, but consequence culture. We've seen this play out on both sides of the aisle. I think it's ridiculous for one side to say the other side censors more. What we need more now than anything is I think we need to stand up for free speech and just say, listen, if you're a guy who owns a bakery and you post on your social media that you think it was funny that Charlie Kirk died and you don't care, well then don't buy from that bakery and tell all your friends not to buy from that bakery. That's where capitalism kind of works itself out, right? But to get the government involved, I mean, the Republican Party traditionally wants less government in their way, right? But now we're seeing the exact opposite play out. So here Pam Bondi makes the kind of opposite case for small government.
Horrific. It's free speech, but you shouldn't be employed anywhere if you're going to say that. And employers, you have an obligation to get rid of people. You need to look at people who are saying horrible things, and they shouldn't be working with you. Businesses cannot discriminate. If you want to go in and print posters with Charlie's pictures on them for a vigil, you have to let them do that. We can prosecute you for that. I have Harmeet Dillon right now in our civil rights.
So she's saying she would prosecute an employer who would refuse to let their employee put a Charlie Kirk photo on the door of that company. What the hell is she talking about? And this is what it comes down to. It's so murky and it's so reactive what is being said out there. These are our top government officials. So she kind of makes the point on both ends that, like, you got to protect people's First Amendment rights, but then you also have, it's like, I honestly have a hard time commenting on all of this because it's like drinking water out of a fire hose right now. Here we have an interesting conversation here. A Trump advisor tries to play victim for being sent to jail, immediately called out over it. Now, why is this interesting? Because there's this idea that Trump's administration is being persecuted for their beliefs. But, there's two instances right now I'm about to share with you where it's not cancel culture. They broke the law.
There's a disturbing asymmetry between what the left is doing to us and what we're not doing to them. If you think about it.
You mean conservatives?
Well, let me run the list here. First of all, I was in the first administration all 4 years. Every single person I was in with suffered from some kind of lawfare. At a minimum, it was Dan Scavino, Mark Meadows ran up millions of dollars in legal fees, Walt Naga. Right. At the other end of the scale, Bannon and I went to prison. Right. We had the president trying to be put in prison for like 4 different courts, 2 assassination attempts. Now they got Charlie. And then I came here for 9/11.
You went to prison because of refusing to. It was contempt of Congress that sent you there.
What do you want? They refuse to abide by the laws, right? Steve Bannon went to prison for the same reason. In 2022, Bannon was sentenced to 4 months in prison because he didn't comply with a subpoena from the House committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack. That's not the only time he was scheduled to go to prison. Steve Bannon, in August of 2020, was indicted federally along with 3 others for defrauding donors who gave money to a crowdfunding campaign called We Build the Wall. That's right. They raised $25 million of MAGA's hard-earned money to privately fund the U.S.-Mexico border wall and then diverted hundreds of thousands of dollars from that for personal expenses. Bannon pleaded not guilty, and then Donald Trump issued him a full presidential pardon in the federal case, wiping away those charges. Don't come at me as, the left is persecuting me. What are you talking about? And it's insane to talk about the assassination attempts of Donald Trump when in both instances, those were not done from people on the left. When he talks about this, this shooter of Charlie Kirk with this left-leaning ideology, we have yet to see any evidence of these claims. So spare me with this division they're trying to create. It's just absolutely wild out there. Trump suing the New York Times for $15 billion right now, suing the Washington Post, suing ABC, Disney. Who else? Right? Who else? It's insane. How have we normalized this? Why do I sound like the absolute lunatic nutjob for being like, are you kidding me right now? He's suing the press from all angles? The Washington, excuse me. The Washington Post lawsuit is over the letter that he wrote to Epstein, which is essentially I'm not going to say it's confirmed to be real, but it's like they've got it. They've got the smoking gun. It's just insane. Some people are trying to bring this country back together. Here's Governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, delivering a message of unity.
We need to create more opportunities for peaceful and respectful dialogue, respecting each other's fundamental rights as Americans. Censorship, using the long arm of government to silence people, to silence businesses and nonprofits and restrict their right to free speech, well, that will not solve this problem. Prosecuting constitutionally protected speech will only further erode our freedoms and deepen the mistrust. That is un-American. There is a better way. There is a better way.
And this is, Governor Josh Shapiro almost had his family killed, right? Due to a lunatic lighting his house on fire with a Molotov cocktail, right? They barely escaped that. This is absolutely insane what's going on out there. I did have to share this unbelievable testimony happening today on Capitol Hill revolving Kash Patel. And by the way, some of the things Kash Patel is saying publicly about the Charlie Kirk shooter will absolutely be used against him because they're just talking out of both ends of their asshole right now, and this is not going to help prosecute the guy that they allege is the killer. It's just not. It's like they always say, like, anything you can and can't, anything you say can and will be used against you. But the reverse is true when it comes to the FBI. If they make conflicting statements, the alleged shooter is going to use that. So anyway, it's just absolute incompetence. This isn't even political. People from all sides of the aisle are saying this. But here's FBI Director Kash Patel with an update on the Epstein situation.
Now, I know that there's a lot of talk about Epstein.
Oy.
And I'm here to testify that the original sin in the Epstein case was the way it was initially brought by Mr. Acosta back in 2006.
It wasn't our fault. They did it wrong.
The original case involved a very limited search warrant or set of search warrants and didn't take as much investigatory material as it should have seized.
True.
If I were the FBI director then, it wouldn't have happened. The search warrants were limited to small time periods to include 2002 to 2005 and 1997 to 2001. Mr. Acosta allowed Epstein to enter in 2008 to a plea and non-prosecution agreement, which then the courts issued mandates and protective orders legally prohibiting anyone from ever seeing that material ever again without the permission of the court. The non-prosecution agreements also barred future prosecutions for those involved at that time of those individuals.
No, he's not wrong, right? The way they handled this Epstein case initially decades ago was horrible, but all of the calls to get the Epstein files released so people can publicly know what's going on, those have absolutely been avoided. And with in not just the death of Charlie Kirk, but the bombings of these boats in Venezuela and all of the other issues are just conveniently being used to divert attention away from releasing the dang files. Here we have the grilling of Kash Patel on the FBI involvement in complicity in the Epstein files involving Trump.
To Attorney General Bondi indicating that the New York field office was withholding Epstein-related records.
I'm not familiar with that whistleblower.
You know that there was such a whistleblower?
I'm not familiar with that whistleblower.
Boo.
In response to the blowback she received, Attorney General Bondi also pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump. Nothing came of that review until July, when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memorandum stating there is no incriminating client list. Why was this July 7th memorandum unsigned?
Would you prefer I've used AutoPen?
Folks, this is the director of the FBI making a mockery out of all of the victims of this very heinous crime, right? They decided to not sign this document, which means no one takes accountability. And here he is with a shit-eating grin making a joke about AutoPen. Why don't, if you're willing to, let the FBI kind of work on behalf of President Trump and redact his name or flag it, if you're going to be his bitch, if you're going to be down on your knees, bruising your knees here, filleting the president and not working for the American people, just say it. Just sign the document. Own it.
Why was it unsigned?
The memorandum had the insignia of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And in our effort to secure transparency for the American people, because the three prior administrations had not done so, we conducted an exhaustive search of everything related to the Epstein cases, and we produced what was legally and permissibly able to be produced to Congress and the American public.
So
and there's a congressional subpoena, and we're continuing to do so.
Did you personally direct that investigation so that you would sign such a...
Did I personally direct what investigation?
Of the Epstein records for any reference to President Trump?
Again, you are citing reporting that I think is baseless. We conducted an investigation of the Epstein case files pursuant to the direction of the president of the administration to provide all credible information.
This is what it sounds like when you didn't read the book report and you just use words. We directed the expedition to the signed, what the hell are you talking about? Oh, it's a joke. This guy's days have to be numbered.
And we are working with Congress pursuant to a congressional subpoena to turn over all the documents we can. All individuals.
Who at DOJ and FBI?
There it is. So he's, just unwilling to take any accountability whatsoever. And here we have an absolute just spat. FBI Director Kash Patel and Senator Cory Booker erupted in a heated shouting match. And by the way, 10 seconds ago when I said his days are numbered, I mean not his life. I have to clarify here so my words aren't misconstrued. I mean his days as FBI director. Here's Cory Booker just slamming Kash Patel for his divisiveness.
If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is
I follow you on your social media posts that tear this country apart.
To address your falsehoods.
Oh, you can try all you want
in this country.
to not take responsibility for what you have said. Sir, you're making a mockery of this committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over. The people of New Jersey tell me what my time is. You can't lecture me.
You can tell me my time's over.
You may be the charge of the
I'm not going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you,
Mr. Chairman.
I'm not afraid of you.
Wow, I'm not afraid of you. Listen, a lot of, I guess the general consensus of what's going on with Kash Patel, him trying to take credit for finding the shooter from Charlie Kirk, even though it was literally like the guy's family turned him in, all of these things. It's because Kash Patel, it looks like an absolute buffoon out there. He's not qualified for the job. He's floundering and he's trying to take credit for work that he might not have done. And he's getting absolutely exposed. And again, the head of the FBI, this shouldn't be a political appointed position. This shouldn't be someone who's unable to talk about how the FBI had took like 1,000 employees to flag when Trump was mentioned in the FBI in the Epstein files. Rather than spend all of that time, energy, and bandwidth trying to protect the president, why don't we try to protect the victims? Why don't we try to expose who was a part of the Epstein files? And when they continue to say, oh, there's no credible evidence that anyone else was involved, then release the fucking files. What the fuck are you talking about? It's maddening out there. Quit pissing on our leg and telling us it's raining, Kash. We're not afraid of you. All right, that's it for me. We'll be back in the morning. We're here twice a day, every day. We'll see you then. I'm Dave. This is The Rush.